Welcome back to our Canaries Walk episode 27. This week, we're asking the question, are Norwich City playing with the dark arts? This is from a Watford fan who said, 100% Norwich were a disgusting team whose theatrics and conning of the referee all afternoon was up there with the best I've seen. So we're talking about dark arts. We're also talking about Kellen Fisher. Was that his best game in a Norwich shirt away at Watford? We're talking about the February fixtures, how they're looking very favourable for the Canaries, our January awards for the best player, and at the end of the video, stay around because we are finishing off our worst ever Norwich 11 by putting in the worst ever midfielders that this team have seen. We've got Matty, Owen, Killian, and Oliver back with us. We're reviewing the Watford win. Let's go to Matty first. Watford fans are saying that you are a cheating, lying, disgraceful bunch of players who dabble in the dark arts. How do you respond to that, Matty?
It's just part of the game, isn't it, I suppose? I mean, if it's the other way around, they'd be praising their team for having a bit of nous and a bit of cleverness to how they approach things. So, do you know what? And I think this is probably the case for Norwich over quite a long period of time, to be honest. I don't think we've been good enough at that side of the game, at being clever and dirty. For a long time, we've had this reputation of kind of nice little old Norwich sort of thing, and I'm all for it, as long as it doesn't get you into any sort of disciplinary trouble and we start to see bans or anything silly. But in terms of what Marcondes does for the red card, it's theatrical, but it's still violent conduct. And then kind of as we ran the clock down towards the end, I'm all for it. Like, it was straight out of the Jose textbook.
Even the admin, Owen, was on it. Was on it afterwards as well. I mean, isn't this going a little bit too far?
Nah, it's a bit of football banter with between the admins, I'm sure.
Right. Okay. Some more of it as well. There's a Watford fans. Congrats on finding 2 pictures of Marcondes on his feet. Must have been difficult. Marcondes on Saturday. Just how bad was it? Obviously, I haven't seen the full game. I've seen the highlights. But, Watford fans were genuinely angry about his conduct in particular.
I looked at the stats after the game. They'd only had him down as 3 fouls won. So I don't think it was as bad as they were making out. He was just making the most when he did go down. It's nothing that we don't see from other teams happen to Norwich. So I don't see why we can't start tapping into that as well.
Right. Okay. Killian, are you having this? Do you mind watching your side throw themselves to the floor a bit more?
If I looked at the first comment that you put up, that sounded like a real compliment. So I think the credit for being really good at it. So I'll always take a compliment from a losing side.
Okay.
I think Beverly really played it up too much, and I reckon it can go 2 ways from a lot of refs could band together maybe and take revenge on them. So it mightn't have been a very smart comment. But we'll see.
Okay. All right, let's have a focus on the game itself then, shall we, Oliver? Force and Lover says, massive win. Maybe not the best of second halves, but we grinded it out and we got the 3 points. Now 2 must-wins at home. Some very good performances, especially Mahovo again. Almost scores a banger. And his defending, positioning, IQ and crossing are on another level, OTBC. How do you respond to that, Oliver?
I completely agree with his Mahovo take. I remember a couple of weeks ago I was saying, it's nice to see him play, but I don't really see him becoming a regular starter. But now that's completely changed. He's kind of slotted into that role. So just professionally, he seems like he's an experienced championship player. He looks like, he's been there and done it before. It's great to see him come in. But the whole team, I think, credit to them, stuck in. They had a couple of chances, to be fair. But you know what? We just kept going at them, and I think we deserved 3 points at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a massive win, Matt. It's a statement win, isn't it? That winning away at a club that's in that same position as you and has got a decent record at home.
Yeah, it was one that you sort of looked at before the game and thought probably take a point. But on the flip side, like you say, a statement piece. It's kind of, if we're going to have any ambition of getting to that sort of 8th to 5th sort of spot and being in and amongst the playoffs, not necessarily hitting them, but being in amongst it, then those are the types of games that it's good to win. So I know they've been for a little bit of a shaky spell, but that that can kind of work against you as well, you know, and a team's kind of looking and fighting to get back to winning ways. So yeah, really good win, and a clean sheet away from home. Like, I know they were down to 10 men for a good chunk of it, but even then to get a clean sheet, to get 3 points away from home, yeah, really satisfying, really good.
Just jumping back to Mahobo, there were some the fans voted him Owen the player of the match. And Hoppy here says he's rapidly becoming one of the main players in this team. Your progress and importance is immense. Keep it up. This aligns what Oliver was just talking about. Do you agree, Owen? Is he now one of the first names in the team sheet?
Not one of the first. I think that's a step too far, but he's nailed down to start the next couple at least for the left back role.
Yeah, okay. The other one I wanted to pick up with you, Killian, was of course about Josh Sargent, and actually it's no coincidence that you're picking up results again now that he's returned. The top 4 tier says if he stays fit all season, you're definitely heading to playoffs. What have you noticed that he's given this side other than the goals?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's tremendous. I think he gives the other players a lift, and you can still see that he's not fully match fit. I mean, I thought in the second half he didn't put in some great runs in the first half, and really frightened that Watford team. Like, they were afraid to press out in case he'd press in on top of them. You could see that he wasn't making those runs towards the end before he came off. So I think, you know, he's obviously made a big impact since he's come back, and as soon as he's fully ready for 90 minutes, I think he'll do a lot of damage.
Okay. You can help us out before we get to the end of our video. Could let us know in the comments below who's the worst midfielder that Norwich have ever signed. We'll get to that. In a couple of minutes, but help us out by dropping that in there now. Before we leave the Watford game aside, Oliver, I want to ask you about Kellen Fisher. Some of the stats from that particular game were incredibly impressive. Evan says it's one of the best games Kellen Fisher has played in a City shirt. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, again, I completely agree. He's just solid. You know, he stepped up his game this season, definitely, and he's sort of become more versatile as well. We can move him into midfield if we need, and I think he's actually more solid at right back than Stacey. I mean, you look at his defensive and attacking work rates, and he's just a lot more he's got a lot more quality, I would say, in both departments than Stacey. So I think he's one that's definitely sort of nailed his name down into that sort of first team sheet.
Matt, he's had his critics this season. I think you've been one of them at times. But how's he doing now?
Yeah, fantastic yesterday. Really was good. I think just to kind of elaborate a bit more on Oliver's point as well, he's so comfortable on the ball, whether it's at right back or in midfield. I prefer him at right back, which he's a right back. So, but yeah, he's just composed, isn't he? Like, is he 19? I think something like that. 20. He's head and shoulders above kind of what you would expect from a player who's been brought in from no disrespect, but from the club that we brought him in from. So, yeah, he's just getting better every week. And I still think Stacey has a place in the team, whether that's occasionally starting some games, a bit of rotation, or off the bench as he was yesterday to add a bit more legs. I'm still a big fan of Stacey, but yeah, recently Fisher's really stepped it up.
Owen, there's a pattern here with Mahovo and obviously now Kellen, that obviously got 2 young players there that are getting better week in and week out. Does that tell us that Hoftorp and the team there have got a knack for developing youth, and is that something that we can get excited by, or is this just a coincidence?
Developing youth point, we know when we brought him in, he had, I think, the highest amount of minutes for youth players. I think it just so happens to be that those players happen to be at fullback, left and right. But it's working out. I can see more players coming in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Cheers for Owen. We've got February coming up, and it's a big month for Norwich. Killian, it's probably, of all the teams around there, on paper, it looks a relatively straightforward month, because you've got 3 games at home, which are all winnable, and a very winnable away fixture at Hull as well. I know we've been here before with Norwich, and we've predicted that they're going to get 9 out of 12 or 10 out of 12 and they've let us down. But come on, surely even you looking at that would say that's a 12 out of 12 month.
It should really be. I mean, it's you can never tell with Norwich, which is part of the excitement and the angst of supporting the team. But it's to me, it looks like it was great. I think having that win with Watford, I think will make it hard for Derby coming to us on Saturday. Obviously midweek game against Preston, it's a long way for them to travel. So again, should be good. You can never tell though with any of these teams, but I'd be reasonably confident that we'll get to 12.
Cheers for that, Killian. Oliver, it's Derby County then this weekend. The reverse fixture of this will probably be known for one of the most bizarre refereeing decisions of the entire season. You owe him one, don't you?
I think so. I do think it will be fairly comfortable for us. I don't know a lot about Derby, but I know that they're obviously not the best team. No offense to them, and obviously I don't think we have Borja Times back for that. So I think there'll be a little bit less tension there, as he was on about the hat trick. But I mean, look, I think that there's a game to be won there still, but I fancy our chances.
Yeah, Matty, you're going to this one. Do you see any hiccups at all here against a Derby side who haven't won in 7? They've lost 7 games in a row.
Yeah, I'm always a little bit concerned with that sort of run of form though, because then it's along come Norwich and we draw 0-0 or we lose 1-0. But no, it's a game we should win, isn't it? Like without being too bolshy or too confident. Like similarly to the Watford game, the Derby game is a game that you need to be winning if you're going to have any real ambition of being up there at the end of the season. So, and to Killian's point, you look at without getting too optimistic, you look at this run of games in February, and it's definitely 12 points there for the taking, 10 at a minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Hull are terrible at home. They're much better away from home. Owen would also, because January's over now, we're talking about which players deserve a few more flowers on their names. Obviously, the club will do their own January Player of the Month. So who's your unsung Player of the Month for January and why?
I had a tough time deciding between Lewis Dobbin and Oscar Schwartau. I think I'm tipping Schwartau slightly ahead because he's been very solid.
Okay. Killian?
Yeah, I'd have to go the same way, to be honest. I mean, I was struggling. There's been some great moments like Forson getting 2 goals, but there's been a lot of inconsistency in terms of the team we've put out. Players been in and out. So I would say Schwartau. I think given that he's one of the youngest players ever to get 1,000 minutes of game time in Championship football, I think it's maybe the second youngest. I think I'd give it to him.
Yeah, good shouts. Oliver?
I do agree with that, but I'll probably go for Emi Marcondes. I think just been solid every game, put in a good shift. Hasn't really let us down. Definitely a player I'd look at sort of giving a longer contract because I think he just plays so well every game and just sort of sums up Hope's style of play.
Okay. Matty?
Yeah, unsung heroes for Jack. Schwartau's definitely up there for me. I'd maybe also consider Cernak in there as well. I know he has had a bit of praise because he got a goal and whatnot in the 5-1 against Swansea. But just in terms of what he does when he comes on, like yesterday, the Watford game, for example, he obviously doesn't start because Sargent's back, but he comes on for 20 minutes or so and he does well. It seemed as well like the crowd were really on his side at the Watford game. So I think he's kind of one of them players who unselfishly, he comes in, he does a job. He's not guaranteed a start, but he always sort of puts himself about and he kind of seems to be growing in confidence. So 2 young lads again there kind of fit with what you were saying about Mahova and Fisher. You've got more attacking options, Schwartau and Cernak. It's been a good couple of weeks, to be fair.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. Let us know in the comments if they've missed anyone. I'm sure you will. Let's move on then finally to the worst ever midfield for Norwich. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now. It's our last players to add into this one. So let's start with Owen again. Can you give us one name each if you can, or if you've got a list, you can fill it in at the end. Owen, who's the worst midfielder Norwich have ever had?
I have a list, but at the top of that list, it has to be Andre Duda.
Do you expand on that?
I don't think I need to.
Okay, right, Oliver.
Yeah, Dude is a good shout. To be fair, I might go a little bit harsh and say Billy Gilmore. Just a bit like I feel bad because he was young when he came in, but it's just too much and could not handle the physicality of the Prem.
Okay. Killian.
I'm going to go for Julian Brellier, who I was going back a bit, but he, like, unlike Fastnacht, who survived 18 months on a 2-month contract, on a 2-year contract, he only survived 6 months, I think, on a 2-year contract.
Okay. This is a terrible, but that's exactly what we wanted. Matty?
Brellier was on my list. I had 3. I had Brellier, Stephen Hughes, which again is a bit of a throwback, and then Mark Fotheringham's also a bit pants as well. Yeah, I like the fact that Killian's gone with Brellier. We'll definitely double down on that one. There's been some dross over the years, especially in the sort of Roder Grant sort of years. There was some bad stuff.
Okay. Owen, do you want to complete your list? Have we missed? Is there any?
I've matched Oliver with Gilmore. I've got PLM for us in the Prem, just look like Bambi on ice, and then I've got Adam Forshaw.
Okay. Forget you've had half these players. That probably says exactly what we need, don't we?
We're trying to forget.
Cheers. You're trying to forget them, yeah. Right. Thank you very much, all 4 of you. Enjoy the game this weekend. We'll catch up with you in 7 days' time. Drop us a subscribe if you haven't yet done so. 20 minutes of Norwich chat every single week. Next week, we'll be choosing the captain of this horrendous team. We'll have a look back on it. We'll also pick the worst ever Norwich manager that can go and manage it as well. Also, it's Valentine's week. We'll be asking these 4, how did they fall in love with Norwich? What age were they? And what was their first game? So join us for that. See you in 7 days' time. Have a good week.